Hey guys, what's up? In this video, I'll be going over my Week 6 DFS plays. Alright, quarterbacks. Number one play by far is Matt Ryan. He's averaging 2.5 touchdowns and 320 passing yards a game. And in 3 home games this year, he's tossed 10 touchdowns. The Bucs have allowed a league-high 358 yards a game, and they've only picked off one pass this year. Matt Ryan and the Falcons should light this defense up. My second favorite option is Deshaun Watson. He's ran for at least 36 yards in every game this year and is averaging 40 yards an outing for rushing. And if you add in his passing work, he's averaging about 350 yards of offense. And he has someone to pick in every game, but a matchup against Buffalo should provide a lot of fantasy value for him because they don't have a run game and they're going to have to rely on him and throwing the ball the entire game. Lastly, I really like Russell Wilson here versus the Raiders. According to PFF rankings, the Raiders are 30th in defense, 26th against the run, 27th in pass rush, and 25th in pass coverage. They're just a very bad defense, and they're allowing 280 passing yards and 2 passing scores a game. And they've only picked off 3 balls all season. And a couple were against Cleveland, which went right through the receiver's hand. So without being able to get pressure on Wilson, he should pick them apart, and we might finally see him start to run the ball. My first from the solid plays is a cheap Jameis Winston. There's no way the Bucs defense is going to stop Matt Ryan. And Tampa Bay does not have a running game at all. So they're going to have to catch up the whole entire game. And good thing for Jameis Winston is he has a lot of weapons. So I think he'll be able to put up at least 2 touchdowns, maybe 3 in this game. He has some good upside from his price point. Next quarterback is Andy Dalton in a divisional matchup against the Steelers. He's been great at home this year, throwing 5 scores and just 1 pick. And the Steelers are a terrible pass defense. They've allowed a 100 quarterback rating and a league worst 13 passing scores against them. And they're averaging 300 yards against them as well. And they still actually come in just 23rd in pass rush, according to PFF, even with 19 sacks. So Dalton should have a lot of time to pick them apart. And lastly, Cam Newton. I always throw him in because he just has upside every week with his rushing ability and his red zone touchdown touches that he gets every week. Alright, for running backs, the number one play is obviously Todd Gurley. I could give you all the amazing stats that say how good he is or how good the offense is. That would just be boring. The only thing to talk about is this monstrous price tag. It's $10,000. Personally, I'm not going to pay for it, but if you do, you're locking up the best player in the league, and you're probably going to get the most points. My next running back is Joe Mixon. With Gio Bernard out, Mixon's only going to get taken out of the game if absolutely needed. You can lock him in for over 20 touches against a struggling Steelers defense, and the price is actually pretty reasonable. And the last one of the high tier is Zeke Elliott. If the Cowboys want to have any chance to win this game, it's going to have to be from Zeke. The Cowboys are definitely going to struggle to pass on this Jaguars defense with their lack of talent on offense, and the Jaguars just amazing talent on defense. So Zeke should be in for about 30 touches this week, and he's actually at a pretty good price. I would play him in all formats. Alright, I'll go over the mid-range guys a little bit quicker. I really like Jordan Howard versus a Miami defense that struggles against the run. Jordan Howard also gets the squeaky wheel this week as he was complaining about his lack of touches in the last game. And the squeaky wheel always gets the oil. So I really like him this week, and he should be at low ownership. One of my favorite plays of the week is TJ Yeldon at 6,400. Corey Grant got hurt, and obviously Fournette's out. So this is going to leave Yeldon as the last man standing. He's going to get all the carries. Don't worry about Jamal Charles getting signed. That's just for an extra body. He's game flow resistant, and he's going to catch passes, and he's going to run the ball. And the Jaguars have a really good offensive line. So fire him up. From what I'm reading that Dalvin Cook should play this week. And at 5,700 going against a Cardinals defense, he's getting absolutely shredded by the run lately. Actually, just the whole year. I really like him at a low price point. The Vikings should get up early, and I could just see them pounding the rock out and getting Cook going. And Cardinals had it 4,900, just too cheap. He's tied for the league in rushing touchdowns, and I like his chances of getting in the end zone. Alright, Chris Carson. We know how bad the Raiders' defense is, and 4,400 is simply too cheap for someone getting 20 carries a game. I like his chances of finally getting into the end zone and having a good game. Alright, the last guy I put on here, he's not safe by any means, so do not plug him in your cash game lineups, but we all know to start running backs versus the Falcons. So someone's going to do it, and I think Peyton Barber sucks. This could be the Ronald Jones breakout game. I can't guarantee it, but I could definitely see him finally doing something. All right, wide receivers. Number one play by far is Julio Jones this week going against Tampa Bay. I know, he can't score, but this week he is scoring. It's going to happen, maybe even twice. In 12 career games versus Tampa Bay, he scored 10 times, and last year he had a 250-yard game with 2 touchdowns against them. I can easily see that happening again, and I see no reason why not. He's going against 35-year-old Brent Grimes, and there's no way he's going to stop him. I'm going to have Julio Jones in every single lineup. I also like Mike Evans in the same game, just because I like Winston, and they're going to have to catch up, so I can see Evans getting a lot of points here as well as they try to catch up. I also put the Vikings duo here because they produce each week, and I think they are the best duo in the league. Stephon Diggs is most likely getting the Patrick Peterson treatment, but I think Diggs can beat that. But since he is getting shadowed by Peterson, I definitely like Thielen a lot more. His price is up, and I know it feels weird to pay this much for him, but he is worth it. He's one of the best receivers in the league, and the amount of separation these two get is unbelievable. They can get open on anyone. I also put Hopkins here. He's sub 8K going against Buffalo for no reason. We also like Watson, so he's a great pairing. I can see Hopkins having a higher ownership because of his cheap price as well. Mid-range, one of my favorite plays of the week is Tyler Boyd. His prices come up a little bit, but I still think he's worth it. Joe Hayden usually doesn't shadow, but last week he did shadow Julio Jones, and he actually held him in check well. Now he's going to go against A.J. Green, and in the past, Hayden has had success guarding A.J. Green. So I think this is going to funnel more targets to Boyd, and I think he has a good game and a great chance of getting in the end zone. And really, I just like Calvin Ridley because of this high-scoring game, and I think he's good. And Tampa Bay's defense is horrible, so just works well. For the bargain bin, I like the 2 Seattle receivers going against the Raiders. It's simply just too cheap. And Doug Baldwin was complaining about his lack of targets, so I love squeaky wheel narratives, and it usually seems to work out. So I look for him to bounce back. Also, you can get some cheap Texans exposure versus the Bills with Kiki Cutie. He's been getting a lot of targets, but watch his hamstring injury in practice, so this could change. In my sneaky play of the week, Chester Rogers. He's had 8 catches and 11 targets in each of his last 2 games. He's lining up against one of the worst corners in the league and the weakest link on the Jets secondary, and that's Buster Screen, and I love picking on him. Alright, tight ends in the main slate are pretty brutal. Gronk, Ertz, and Kelsey are off it, so it doesn't leave us much options. But the 3 I like are Austin Hooper, Cameron Brate, and CJ Uzomah. Hooper and Brate are in the same game. I think this is high scoring, so it's a good, cheap way to get exposure to this game without spending an arm and a leg. They also have a good chance of getting in the end zone, as they actually are getting used. And CJ Uzomah is a sneaky one. He's only 3,000, going against a really bad Steelers defense versus the tight end. So if you need to save some money, you can plug him in and you have a decent shot at getting some points. There's not much of defense. There's only 2 I would play this week. Number 1 by far is the Bears. It's still at a good price point. Going against the Dolphins, they're guaranteed multiple sacks a week with Khalil Mack, and I also think they'll force a couple fumbles and interceptions. And the Texans get the Bills treatment. They're not actually priced that high either. Definitely a good play versus Buffalo. Alright, I just wanted to give you guys an example of the cash game lineup I put together really quick. I got Matt Ryan, TJ Yeldon, Zeke, Julio, Tyler Boyd, Chester Rogers, Cameron Brate, Chris Carson, Bears defense. And as you can see, I don't put too many guys on the same team together. So I had the Matt Ryan and Julio Jones pairing, but that's it. Because if I like the quarterback, obviously like his number 1 option. But I'm not going to also use Ridley or Hooper, because if they end up disappointing, the whole lineup's destroyed. So you want to really spread out your exposure and cash to different games, and the guys you think are in the best spot. And really, that was it. So thank you for watching. If you enjoyed, leave a like and subscribe. And if you have anything you want to discuss or ask, please comment below. Thanks.